Welcome everyone. I think we might get started. It's 7 o'clock, so I'd like to formally welcome everyone here to this ordinary council meeting. My name is Karen Redmond. I'm the Mayor of the town of Gawler. Firstly, I'd like to acknowledge the land that we meet on tonight is the traditional lands for the Kaurna people, and that we respect their spiritual relationship with their country. We also acknowledge the Kaurna people as the custodians of the Greater Adelaide region, and that their cultural and heritage beliefs are still as important to the living Kaurna people today. So, roll call. We have an apology from Councillor Shanks. We have a request for leave of absence, which I'll deal with at 2.3. And I think everyone else is here. I'll move on to, I'd like to welcome staff. I'd also like to welcome people in our community gallery. There are a couple of speakers, and I'll call you up fairly shortly when we get to item 3. So welcome everyone in the gallery. I'd like to welcome staff. Welcome back David Barrett from leave. I'd also like to welcome Mr. Nick Hopton, who's our new editor of the Bunyip. If you need anything, that's him over there, sitting to the with the black coat on the back of the red chair near the clock. So welcome, Nick. Hope you enjoy the meeting. Welcome to CEO Henry Innett and our minute taker Chris, and of course elected members. So I'll move on to 2.3. Now, Councillor Davies, you have a motion.
Yeah, a leave of absence for Councillor Tooley, 26th of April to 26th of May inclusive.
Do I have a seconder for that? Councillor Little. Any discussion? I'll put that motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. There are no other leave of absence and no non-attendance. Now, moving on to public open forum, I have 2 slips here. First is Ms. Deb Brea, and second is Ms. Karen McColl. So in that order, Deb, if you'd like to come forward. Now, I think the mic's on, David? Okay. So we generally have 5 minutes, Deb? And I'll give you a 30-second warning.
Thanks for that. I have rehearsed.
Good on you.
Roughly, anyway. Good evening, elected members. First and foremost, my intent tonight is not to offend the elected member body or the
Just
staff.
1 moment, Deb. I can't hear you. If you move that and get right into that microphone.
Is that better?
That's much better.
Right.
Thank you.
First and foremost, my intent tonight is not to offend council or people that staff that have presented reports to council. As council are aware, our property has been listed as a local heritage item. We presented to council and informed that information that was provided to them was actually incorrect. That has now been retracted from the submission. In light of that though, council needs to be aware that any additions that have been made to the property are not of local heritage significance. They have been built in the 1970s and since our tenure. We've owned the property for 19 years. So those build-ons are not of heritage significance. The landscape upgrade also is not of heritage listing, in my opinion. We've actually put that garden together. We actually developed the garden and designed it with the intent that it actually complemented the property, which in hindsight now is probably working against us. The decision council makes tonight also impedes additional costs to us, which we presented to you previously. So as a compromise, because this is our home and we love our home, we have no intent to demolish the home. Our intent is to keep on developing whatever we can and restore the place to how it is, you know, our garden reflects that. So if you've driven past or looked at your council agenda, you will see the photos. So as a compromise, I'm hoping council will seriously consider with amending the resolution to remove the property in its entirety as a local heritage item, and have the, as we put in our submission, the original dwelling, because that then doesn't impede as many costs to us. As I said, we've got no intent of demolishing the property. We've got no intent in selling the property. It's our home, and it will be, we've only got one child, and it will be given to our child when we pass away. So I'm hoping council does take that into consideration and listens to us, because we are actually the homeowner. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Deb. Now, Karen McCall. If Karen, you can come forward. Karen's representing the Gawler Suicide Prevention Network.
Thank you, Mayor Redman, and thanks, elected members, for listening. I'm here on behalf of the Gawler Suicide Prevention Community Group, who submitted a stimulus grant, and I'd like to commend the council on the council stimulus program. I think it's really great to see council being proactive on the back of what's been such a horrid 2020 given COVID. The reason I'm here tonight was the Suicide Prevention Group felt it was important that the elected members and the council be made aware that part of the $1,800 grant application included the distribution of these pens to all the people that were going to attend the event. When I looked at the council report, I commented to my colleagues that I thought $1,800 for just some finger food at the Kingsford Hotel with Mark Ryan, the beautiful bogan, was a bit expensive, but we did factor into the application for the grant these banner pens, and I will hand it around. It's a bit like show and tell, really, but they actually have some tips on how to look for the signs of suicidal distress and risk, how to listen, talk, and to seek help together. And on the back, it has the Gawler Suicide Prevention Community Group logo and all of the crisis support information and telephone numbers. So I'll hand that around. They're produced locally by Gawler Impress, and the cost of producing these and giving them to everybody at the event has been included in the $1,800. And the group just felt that that was important that council have that information. So I'll hand it around, and I'm happy to answer any questions if anybody's got any.
Thank you. Any questions for the speakers? There be none. Thank you. Thank you, Karen.
Thank you.
Congratulations on the grant.
Thank you.
Okay. So that concludes public open forum. There are no deputations. Declarations of interest, councillors. Councillor Davies.
11.2.
Sorry, which one?
11.2, the stimulus programs.
Okay, which
In relation to the suicide prevention group,
suicide, okay.
as a member
And
of the
you,
board,
when we get to that,
I'll be leaving the room.
okay. If you can declare that when we get to the item, thank you. Councillor Davies. No one else? Okay. Oh, thank you. It's actually quite nifty. I think it's quite useful. Okay, thank you. So moving on to, we have no 6 in my, so I don't have the updated. We don't have any agenda items. We don't have any petitions. Confirmation of minutes. Confirmation of minutes. So we have, I'll do these one at a time, councillors. So we have the ordinary council meeting on the 23rd of March, moved by Councillor Goldstone, seconded by Councillor Hughes. Any discussion? I'll put that motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Special Council meeting 13th of April 2021, moved by Deputy Mayor Samble. Do I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Valalonga. Any discussion? I'll put that motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Special Council meeting 15th of April 2021. Do I have a mover for the Special Council meeting? Councillor Davies, seconded Councillor Valalonga. Any discussion? I'll put that motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. That deals with the confirmation of the minutes. Business arising from the minutes. Council member reports. Councillor Koch.
Thanks, Mayor. I've got a couple. The first one was on Good Friday, the 2nd of April, I attended the Central District President's Game Day Luncheon as a guest of Mayor Glenn Doherty, because the Mayor couldn't attend, and also Councillor Davies did as well. And that was a game against North Adelaide. But I've been honoured to be a guest there a number of times. And it's a really good opportunity for members to meet other councillors. In particular, I talked to, obviously the council members from Playford were there, but also there was a member from Prospect, and we talked about the different issues. And in fact, the member from Prospect was talking about the stress of infill development in Prospect and the effect that's having on their council. For the game, it was a great game. It was the first game for the season, and the first game really after a lot of the COVID restrictions were wound down. So there was a full enthusiastic crowd, and Central's won by in a canter. So that was pretty good.
They're a good team, Central.
They're a very good team, yep. Then I actually, on the 7th of April, I actually did something different. I went and actually attended the Green Adelaide's draft regional landscape plan, and this is it here. And I was really interested in the terms cooler and wilder, and what they did say was that the cooler was actually concentrating more on tree cover and not swathes of lawn, irrigated open lawn, so that was good. And it talked about a wilder habitat, but not necessarily like what they're doing down in the York Peninsula, but more just recreating the habitats and animals coming in. We also talked a bit, I talked to one of the officers as well, and we talked about micro rewilding, which was something I've been quite keen on, so they're on to that as well. And finally, on the 12th of April, I was able to welcome the entrants with their cars to the Gawler and Barossa Vintage and Veteran Run from Gawler to the Barossa. Fantastic. It was 79 vehicles, all well appointed, and it was a really nice to see them there. And the planning and the way it was presented was a tribute really to the club for the way they did it. So it's a great event and it's growing in popularity. So they're the three things I did. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Koch. Anybody else? I might go through a couple of things that I've been doing over the last month. On the 25th of March, I was invited to have a look at the new MRI that's been installed up at Jones and Partners at the hospital. Gawler has 2 MRI machines, neither of which have Medicare subsidy. We have hardly any subsidised MRI machines in the north, and I think there's lots of advocacy going on to try and change that, which is sorely needed, but it's already being actively used. It's a really important piece of machinery up at the hospital, and in combination with the CT machine that they have, I think it really provides an excellent service for this region, which is growing, and also lots of older people are retiring, and MRI is the new modality of choice across the world. So that was really exciting to see a brand new MRI machine up there, and it's a really fantastic facility. On the 12th of April, I went and came into this building, actually, in this room, and Helen Connolly, who's the Commissioner for Children and Young People, had one of her community conversations here with our young people of the region, not just Gawler young people, but right across the region. Our Gawler Youth Advisory Committee members were on hand, and there were lots of active conversations had with the Commissioner, and I think it was a really useful exercise for Helen to take back, and hopefully she'll get a chance to also meet with the chair. I think she missed out. Renee Chamberlain's hoping to have a conversation. I think she's trying to get a meeting with Helen. I think that would be really useful for her to do that. I beamed in via Zoom for an LGA briefing with Premier Stephen Marshall, and that was quite useful, just an update on some of the grant programs and also the COVID recovery. Nearly every mayor and CEO did attend that via Zoom, and it's a really great way to engage with our Premier and the government, and they've been going throughout the 220 and 21, and I think they've been quite useful. I also had occasion to host Mount Remarkable Mayor Phil Heaslip and also the CEO Sam Johnson, who came and had a look at what we're doing here in Gawler and had a bit of a tour of various initiatives that we've been delivering, but also just talking all things local government. I think they're really useful when you catch up with CEOs and mayors and leaders of communities, and if I get a chance, I may be able to go up to Mount Remarkable for an afternoon or a morning and check out what they're doing up there, although their catchment's a little bit bigger than ours. But they don't have the growth that we have. We're quite different councils, but we have some similar issues and discussion points. On the 25th of April, I was invited to a dawn service at the Gawler RSL sub-branch. It was quite a pared down service, but still very important and very reverent. And then after that, I attended the Hillier Park Anzac Day service, and there were probably about 50 people there attending that service at Hillier Park. So that's probably some points of interest for the last month for what the Mayor's been doing. So elected members, anybody else want to add anything? Paul, do you want to add anything about Anzac Day? No? Okay. So if people are happy, I'm happy to accept a mover and a seconder that we accept the written and verbal reports of council member reports, moved by Councillor Little, seconded by Deputy Mayor. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. So now we'll move on to, I'm on page 5 and I'm on 11.1. Now we have Douglas Alexander from Flight Path Architects. Douglas, if you'd like to come forward to the microphone. Douglas is here to answer any questions. He doesn't have a presentation, he assured me, but he is happy to answer any questions that you may have. Thanks, Douglas. Is there anything you want to add at this stage about the report?
No, I think the staff have done a fantastic job in pulling together quite a detailed survey, and I think the staff should be congratulated. So
I will do that. I think it is a very thorough report. We've had a series of reports around this particular matter, and I think it is very thorough. I think I counted 151 properties that's included in this DPA. Have I got that correct? Yes? Thank you. Okay. Councillor Hughes.
Just this may come across as a silly question, but yeah, there's been a lot of work in this document. I sort of agree with the work and the methodology and everything else, but it's probably more about the interiors of some of these buildings. Like I know number 8 Adelaide Road has beautiful fireplaces, pressed in ceilings, really unique fittings and fixtures. Like there was one of the fireplaces had merino sheep heads that were carved out of wood and things like that. Some of those fixtures able to, how are they sort of protected, or are they just part of the interior of the building?
Do you want to answer that?
Sorry. Through the chair, development of a local heritage place is generally focuses primarily on protecting the external of the facade, but it also requires development approval for alterations internal to the building as well, in most instances. So there would be an assessment by a heritage advisor based on the development that was proposed, and that would be considered in an assessment as well. Whilst it's not explicitly listed, the listing in the items that have been reviewed as part of this application, as part of this review, was primarily the external.
Okay. Councillor Goldstone.
Just in relation to the property at 15 Blanche Street, on page 15 of 83 of the report, there's an exclusion there for the property at 8 Adelaide Road. The question I've got is, could that exclusion not also apply to the property at 15 Blanche Street?
Can we go to 15,
Through the chair, yes, that exclusion can be added. This compromise was only received verbally today during the council meeting. The other ones that were received were either written submissions or were received at the IES public hearing. So what could be done is to amend the motion to allow the wording of 15 Blanche Street to be amended to exclude later additions in line with what's been done for 8 Adelaide Road.
So Councillor Davies.
Yeah, well, I'm happy to move a version of the motion that, as mentioned before, to amend the 15 Blanche Street to exclude later extensions and improvements.
Is there particular wording that would be appropriate? Just
Through the chair, I would probably seek to amend part 3 of the motion that authorises the CEO to make amendments prior to finalisation. So perhaps amend that to authorises the CEO to amend the listing for 15 Blanche Street to exclude later additions.
you got that, Chris? You happy with that, Councillor Davies? Do you wish to speak? Seconder, Councillor Little. Do you wish to speak? Any other discussion? Councillor Hughes?
I'm speaking for the motion. I think this is an amazing effort and achievement for the council. As the Mayor said, 151 properties. It's been a team effort through the staff and consultants, and really thank everyone involved because it is such a major project and a very successful one, and I think this will be seen across the whole of South Australia as quite an achievement for a heritage which is seen by Gawler residents as being really important, and it's a great outcome. So really happy and think that the process has been done well. The consultation that we have had and has I think had common sense outcomes with the new additions, of course, excluded, and I think the overall majority of landowners was very happy. There was only just a couple that wanted some of this fine tuning, which I think is a really good outcome, and just really goes to show that with good consultation and good methodology, things work out really well, and just to get this vast number of properties across like this is a real achievement. So yeah, well done to everyone.
So we're just getting that wording right. Later additions. Yep. Okay. Thanks, Ryan, for that clarification. Any other discussion? Councillor Koch?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Yes, I'll be supporting this. I had a number of people ask me about this and what the process. In particular, one landowner asked me, they received a letter about what was happening, and they wanted me to explain it to them. I explained it to them, and they said, "Oh, this is fantastic. This is exactly what I want done to my house." So they're very, very happy. So that was from the people I spoke to, they were happy to have their premises go from contributory to heritage. So very well done.
Councillor Goldstein.
Just to be a bit picky, could the other exclusion included improvements, not only, so point 3 there, the exclusion of later additions / improvements. I just think that makes it consistent with the other exclusion clause that applies to the Adelaide Road property.
I think we did check with the planners in regard to, so I think, Mr. Viney?
Through the chair, whilst the report itself speaks to excluding all later extensions and improvements, that was more a layperson's terminology in the report itself. In the proposed amendments, which is in the attachments, the amendment to Adelaide Road says excluding all later additions. And I think to be consistent,
I think that's the correct wording, yeah. But thank you, Councillor Goldstone. Any other discussion? If not, Councillor Davies, you happy for me to put that motion? I'll put that motion. All those in favour, please raise your hands. All those against, it is carried. Thank you. Okay. 11.2, Councillor Davies.
Declaring conflict of interest, perceived conflict as a former chair of the Suicide Prevention Group, and I'll be leaving the room.
What type of conflict is it?
Perceived.
Sorry, I didn't catch that. Thank you. Okay. Councillor Davies has left the room, so now we'll deal with this matter. Councillors, Councillor Goldstone, you happy to move the opposite's recommendation?
Well, there's some options there.
Oh, yes.
So
which option do you want?
I'll give it a crack. So we'll go for number 1, obviously. Point 1 stays as it is. The fourth number 2, or the third number 2.
Okay, look, I can't follow that. So the third number 2, so after the second approves the use of the unallocated funds, 13,196 from stimulus program, community events and activation round 2 for the establishment of a stimulus program round 3.
Yep.
Okay, so and 1.
Yeah, 1.
1 and that
number
2. And that point 2.
Yep, and number 4, the second number 4.
Confirms that the use of Princes Park have an 80% concession.
Yep.
You have the floor. Now, hang on, let's just make sure, Chris, have you got that, Chris? Can I have a look? So it's the second number 2. It's the third number 2.
Third number 2.
Which effectively activates a round 3.
Yep.
So it's the third number 2, which mentions round 3. That's right. And gets rid of that point. There's point 3, and then there's the second point 4, the 80% concession. Okay, so that's the motion. Do you want to just check that, Councillor Goldstone, so we know what if you can just... Yep. So there's 1, there's 2, there's 3, and there's 4.
Yep, that's correct.
You want to speak?
Well, no, not really. It's pretty straightforward. I think it's a good compromise. So,
okay. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Fraser, do you wish to speak at all? Don't have to, but you can.
Only that they were the number what I had picked as well.
Okay. So. Any other discussion? Councillor Hughes.
Just to say, yeah, I agree with the motion, voting for the motion, but I think this is the fairest way forward, which gives that option for another stimulus round, and I think this is a really good opportunity to help out a lot of groups in our community, and also backs a lot of the council's programs as well. So I think it's a really good fit and works really well. So very happy to support it.
Any other discussion? If not, Councillor Goldstone, you happy for me to put the motion? I'll put that motion. Now, do we know what we're voting on? We're all comfortable? Okay, I'll put that motion. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Carried unanimously. If somebody can ask Councillor Davies to come back in the room. Where'd he go? Oh, there he is. So now we're on 11.3, and we're on page 25. Okay. How do you wish to proceed, councillors? Councillor Fraser.
I'll move it. It's basically, the majority of it's noting anyway. And,
Point 5 is accepts.
pardon? Yeah, 5 is accept.
Yeah.
Accepts, I understand that.
Do you wish to speak to it?
No, not really. Thanks.
Okay. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Vallelonga, do you wish to speak? Any discussion? Councillor Hughes?
Just a question on number 5 and the negotiations for council actually getting money for that land, or more information. I know it's not happening, but is there any comments through the chair?
How much are we getting for the land acquisition? They're supposed to give, under the Land Acquisition Act, it's supposed to be reasonable market value.
Through the chair, we haven't been informed. There's been no negotiation per se in that space. We're just understanding that was in terms of the Gawler East Link Road, with council land was acquired as part of the process and returned effectively to road reserve. Effectively, the proposition there was it was for public purpose. So I'm envisaging that it would be a similar situation. In terms of, there is actually some land that will be coming across to council, which actually isn't part of this report, where we're actually moving a fence line back into the rail corridor to actually save some vegetation, because that fence actually needs to be rebuilt to a new standard. So we'll actually be gaining some land. So I don't have the net impact.
That's a tiny pocket of land.
That's
a tiny pocket of land over near Jerningham Terrace, isn't it?
No, sorry. This is in Marsh Avenue.
Oh, over Marsh.
Along Marsh. So
okay.
I dare say it'd be the equivalent or otherwise of the land that's being lost. So I think in the net, if you're going to look at the net aspect, there will actually be some land coming across to council. I don't have that information at hand at the moment. Effectively, I don't have the level of compensation that'll be provided or otherwise, other than the fact that it is DIT's intent, Department of Infrastructure and Transport's intent, to serve us with a Section 10 notice under the Railways Act to compulsorily acquire this land.
Does that adequately answer your question, Councillor Hughes?
Yeah, that's a good answer, I suppose. It's handy to know sometimes how much in dollars, or even an estimate as well.
Do you wish to speak to this motion at all?
As Councillor Fraser says, a noting, and a lot of this is unfortunately out of our hands, and we have been trying to negotiate the best possible outcome. I think, I will be supporting this motion, but it has been a difficult, I think, whole process, and some of the traffic alterations, it's going to be difficult for, and even for access for emergency services vehicles that use that access currently. It's going to change response times and make things difficult for a lot of the residents in Gawler. that use that area and use the bridge on a daily basis. And I think, yeah, especially the police that constantly use that access too, and some of the local residents. So it, yeah, I think it is out of our hands, and trying to get the best possible outcome for our community is what the staff and council's been trying to do with this process, but it has been difficult.
Yeah, I think it's been very difficult. The lack of communication has been breathtaking. However, I think that I think it is what it is. I think there will be traffic impacts on surrounding streets, and I think the Tompkins report shows that quite clearly in some of the streets that will go up by, well, more than 200-300%. And a number of those people are quite elderly, and the footpath system isn't that fantastic along some of those streets. So I'm not sure that the department is going to pay for any of our upgrades that will be required to enable safe pedestrian access, particularly around some of those side streets. So yeah, it may well be quite interesting, but it is what it is, and it is a departmental project. We do need the electrification from a clean air point of view. I think it's a huge advantage to have an electric train. You're not breathing in diesel fumes. That's been something we've all gotten used to when we go on the train. That will be quite transformational. So I think there's positives for this this development, but I think, yeah, it is a shame that they're removing what is actually quite a beautiful bridge. Any other discussion, Deputy Mayor? And then Councillor.
Thank you, Mayor Karen. Yes, it's just been discussed and looking down through the report. Is there actually any figure of report? I mean, we've already been stung with this 100-mile-an-hour speedway track across the top of the mountain, and we don't want to fall into any sort of avenue of saying, well, we didn't know about that. Now, what about cost to our council? Are we going to be up for $25,000 for trees afterwards or whatever? But I can't actually see in this report anything that we're committed to at this stage, because we're now doing our budgets and everything. Councillor Hughes mentioned about the point we don't know, what cost we're up for. Is there any way that we know what commitment dollar-wise that we could be up for?
Mr. Delena.
Through you, Mayor Reverend. There's no direct cost to council as a result of this project. We have received $203,000 compensation for vegetation amenity loss along the rail corridor, which we paid to the council, and then we'll use that money in the 21-22 budget to replace vegetation in select areas to minimise that impact. The locations of which haven't been determined as yet. So, and we are actually being provided a $30,000 contribution to further beautification branding works around the bridge, which forms part of this report.
Thank you. Councillor Koch.
Yeah, look, I've got two questions. The first one is around the bin pickup. It talks about, how the bins can be collected, and it looks like all the bins might have to just go on one side of the road, I assume. And the other one is just around the branding. How does that fit in with our style guide already?
That was in my head when I was reading that, and I saw a brand and I thought, I hope we're not having another brand. So what's going on there, Sam?
Thank you. Through you, Mayor. So in regards to the bin collection, I know there's been conversations held with our rubbish collection agency, and the intent would be this, and they've started communicating with the residents about having to put the bins all on one side. So that's, so they'll assist that process during the construction, and it'll become an ongoing process moving forward. In terms of branding, not looking to reinvent the council's branding per se, I think what's been proposed in this is that we'll, and it's obviously being supported, that effectively engaging a a Ghana artist to come up with some options and bring it back to the council. So not go away and deliver, but bring it back to the council for its consideration. And one of the things that we were seeking was to embed the Town of Gawler current branding logo within that design, but that's subject to further consideration by the council when we provide some mock-ups to come back to council with.
So you will use the style guide?
It's certainly yes. I don't have the style guide specifically references this context, but effectively the current look and feel of the Gawler brand, yes.
Okay, Councillor Goldstone.
Just a question, I guess it's a bit late to be raising this, but has there been any discussion regarding upgrading the fencing on the Overway Bridge, Overway Road Bridge? It's really atrocious on both sides of that bridge.
At the Gawler train station, Gawler South train station?
The direct answer is yes, there will be upgrades associated with that. What I will do is provide some further information out of session to members in regards to what that physically looks like. Take that on notice. And there may be, I am aware through informal conversations with the department, they're looking at that whole bridge in a greater context, a bit isolated to this project, but there could be other works that are pending, but nevertheless, the fencing forms part of the project scope.
Any discussion about Dipty getting rid of their graffiti along that rail line? It's really out of control at the moment. And they won't let us do it. Take it on notice.
I'll just take that on notice, Madam Mayor. That's not a conversation that I've had with the department in that regard,
Well,
but
it's a good opportunity while they're doing the electrification to actually get in there. There's no trains. It would be really good if we could bring that up and get it cleaned up while there's no trains. It's a perfect opportunity. It's out of control. Under that Overway Bridge, it's completely covered. And then there's just further, Councillor Little's nodding because he sees it probably every day like I do. Not that I walk along the train track, but it's been brought up consistently over a number of years how you just can't get in there. And they've always used the excuse that it's too dangerous and you can't cover anyone for insurance.
I think it's, as you say, it's a great opportunity and I'll take it up with the department.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Delina. Any other discussion? Councillor Fraser, are you happy for me to put the motion? Or do you want to, thank you?
I agree with what Councillor Hughes said about us not really having a lot of say in this, but also for King Street, it's sort of bittersweet because they've lost the bridge to get into town, but they were heard and they are getting King Street made into a two-way, so that's sort of bittersweet, I guess, for them in a way.
The debate's closed. I'll put that motion. All those in favour, please raise your hands. All those against? It is carried. Thank you. .4, LGA discussion paper. Got a fairly, you happy to move that way, Councillor Davies? Do you wish to speak at all?
Yeah, just to say that I think there are a few obvious areas of reform that, you know, I've noticed in my time on council. Of course, code of conduct is one where it doesn't really go anywhere or mean anything or, you know, do anything if whether it fails or succeeds. And the conflict of interest is another category where other states, other locations have better systems that are less confusing and don't have systems like perceived conflict and that sort of thing. So yeah, I'll support this.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor Little, discussion, Councillor Little? No? Any other discussion? If not, Councillor Davies, I'll put that motion. I'll put that motion. All those in favour, carried unanimously. Thank you. Now we're moving on to 11.5. I will declare a perceived interest as a member of the Gay Rock Committee, although this specifically references the LGA board. but it does mention Garrock Committee, and I will stay in the room and participate in the debate and make decisions that are in the best interests of the community overall. You happy to move the officer's recommendation, Deputy Mayor? Do you wish to speak at all? Seconder, Councillor Valalonga. Any discussion? Councillor Davies.
Yeah, this is, I think it's been a bit disappointing from the LGA, sort of, I don't know, I mean, impressive in its own way, sort of seeing the masters at work when it comes to undermining things that we're trying to do. You know, with this climate emergency situation, we actually came within one vote at the last meeting of this getting passed. And, you know, as we know, it is entirely legitimate for a motion that hasn't passed to come up again at the next meeting. You can continue to bring it up. So it's disappointing that currently we're in a situation where there's sort of a, you know, oh, we're not supposed to bring this motion up for the next year or that kind of thing, because I think it's something it's clearly a priority on the mind of a lot of councils, and I think they should continue discussing it.
Yes, I don't disagree. I think it is really disappointing. It's a technicality, and it was a really important debate. It was a high-level debate. It's one of the best debates that the LGA, that I've been involved in the number of years I've been going. So it wasn't trivial. And I think anyone who thinks that climate change is trivial is poorly misinformed. And now we have a US president who's talking about a climate crisis, who's organising summits and put it right at the top of their agenda. And so we will be taken along that road, whether we like it or not. And I think that this council is showing leadership, and I think we can. I think what this response, if we're able to work with Garrock and get an outcome, I think that would be quite useful for us and show some leadership. So certainly I think the report gives us some really good insights in how to do that. So hopefully we can get some outcomes, even though yes, it is disappointing. Do we have a seconder? We've got Councillor Valalonga. Any discussion? So Councillor Deputy Mayor, are you happy for me to put the motion? I'll put that motion. All those in favour of the motion carried unanimously. Thank you. 11.6, Better Futures Australia Declaration. How do you wish to proceed, councillors? Happy to move that way. Councillor Davies, do you wish to speak at all? Seconded by Councillor Valalonga. Any discussion? If not, I'll put that motion. All those in favour carried unanimously. Thank you. 11.7. Again, I'll declare a perceived conflict as a member of the Garrock Committee. I will stay in the room, participate in the debate, and any decision I'm involved in will be in the best interests of the community overall. You happy to move that way, Councillor Valalonga? Do I have a seconder? Deputy Mayor, any discussion? Mover, do you wish to speak at all? Mover? Seconder, do you wish to speak? Any other discussion? If not, Councillor Valalonga, I'll put that motion. Are you okay with that? I'll put that motion. All those in favour carried unanimously. Thank you. 11.8, Monthly Finance Report. You happy to move that way, Councillor Hughes? You happy to second, Councillor Little? Do you wish to speak at all?
Just to note, I think Council is moving really well. Having a favourable variance is always great, and I think it's something to sort of highlight where we are actually working. I mean, it also means that the staff are especially under a lot of pressure at the moment. So, well, thanking them for their hard efforts, and I think this overall is a good report as well. So thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Little, do you wish to speak at all? No, thank you. Any other discussion? If not, I'm going to put that motion. All those in favour of the motion, carried unanimously. Thank you. Now moving on to I'm on page 60, and apologies to the people watching live on YouTube. I didn't welcome you earlier, so welcome. We are now on page 60 of our agenda, Civic Centre January to March quarter update. You happy to move that way, Councillor Davies?
Yeah, this has been, it's been in some areas quite a good period for the Civic Centre. I think the events all around have been ticking up for the Civic Centre, and I've been to a few of them over the course of the Fringe and such. This is something that I think we'll keep building that up. The Gawler Heritage stuff has been happening. We're onto a new exhibit now. So the Golden Land, the story of food production, which I haven't had the chance to visit yet, but I'm going to get along to that soon. The youth space is doing great. I think this is something that it's really taken off ever since we got access to a permanent youth space, and this is something where I think there's a lot of room to do stuff, a lot of room to grow, and I know that the youth will be presenting at a later point as to their internship for the youth area and the reasons as to why that would be beneficial and a priority for our town. So, yeah, I'm happy to move this report.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor Hughes, I think you put your hand up first.
Yeah, just echoing Councillor Davies. Went to a few events, and also was at these events. There was people that had never been here before, and it was just fantastic to see their expressions and just how enthusiastic and pleased they are with the building and the events that were held, and were packed, and they ran out of food and everything else for catering, and it was really good to actually see the building full of people, and we're still exposing this to Gawler ratepayers that have never been in here, and so I think the events that are being held is a fantastic way of getting people in, and also just trying to explain the different functions that, like we do have the innovation hub and the youth space and library and the meeting rooms, and just getting it out to our community that meeting rooms are available, and just pushing the functions and the spaces, I think is really important, and I think that's something we all as councillors have a role to play in that as well. I was able to get a table of 12 together for one event, and I think 8 or 9 of the 12 had never been here before, and it was just fantastic to expose them to the building, which I think is really important, and just having quality sort of local events so people don't have to go to the city when Fringe is on as well is just fantastic too. So it's been really well done.
Thank you. Councillor Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor Karen, and I endorse certainly what Councillor Hughes said, and it's certainly the variety of events and that have had and that are still coming and so forth. And Councillor Davies, you've got to go and see the Golden Land thing. I'm sure that in Australia here, mate, it all happened around Gawler. Today I was listening to the ABC, as I do now that you're old, you get time to learn. And Rodney Rood was on, and he's coming to Gawler. So I looked and thought, now is Rodney Rood going to come here to the Institute? But I'm not sure where he is, but he's coming to Gawler in a couple of weeks. So if he comes here, it'll be a packed house. But congratulations to everybody that's put all these programs together. It's great work.
Yes, I remember Rodney Rood. Right. Thank you, Deputy Mayor, for those wise words. Councillor Fraser.
It's good to see that we were got a certificate for our breastfeeding area. That's really good. It was the highest standard, so that's great. And Deputy Mayor Rodney Rood would have to alter his performance, I would think, to what it used to be. I'm sure there's lots of things he used to say he wouldn't be able to say today.
Yes, that's an understatement, Councillor Fraser. He's shaking his head. I'm sure plenty of people still find Rodney Rood really funny. Okay, any other discussion on this matter? If not, Councillor Davies, you happy for me to put the motion? I'll put that motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Okay, so that concludes officers' reports, and now we're moving on to recommendations from committees, and I'm on page 70. So we'll work our way down these motions. 12.1 is a noting motion. I know. So I'm actually looking for someone to move the noting motion. Oh, lovely. Thank you, Councillor Goldstone. Moved by Councillor Goldstone, seconded by Councillor Hughes. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. And now we move on to the recommendations, and we'll do these one at a time. 12.1.1, looking at our long-term financial plan update report. Happy to move that way, Councillor Hughes, seconded by Councillor Kosh. Any discussion? If not, I'll put that motion. All those in favour? All those in favour? All those against? It is carried. Thank you. Policy review, 12.1.2. You moving that way, Councillor Fraser, the officer's recommendation, seconded by Councillor Hughes. There's no discussion. I'll put that motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. 12.1.3, I'm now on page 71. Yes, I might ask somebody to move it and then I'll take the question. Is there somebody who's willing to move that we adopt the asset management policy? You happy to move that way? Councillor Kosh, and seconded by Councillor Hughes. Do you wish to speak at all before I take the question?
Can I ask why the risk management wasn't adopted, why it was obviously going to come up at another time, but 12.1.3 had two policy reviews.
Yes.
One for asset management and one for risk management.
Yeah, the risk, I think I might refer to you, Mr. Horwood, and just provide some explanation. That was discussed, yes.
Yes, through you, Mayor Karen. The main reason that was deferred was being mindful of the upcoming risk management workshop with the council, and it was deemed appropriate to defer consideration of that policy till after that workshop.
Any other discussion? If not, I'll put that motion. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Carried unanimously. Thank you. Now, draft budget. This is receiving a report be received and noted. Do I have a mover for the officer's recommendation? You happy to move that way, Councillor Davies? You happy to second, Councillor Hughes? Any discussion? We're doing 12.1.4. There's no discussion. I'll put that motion. All those in favour, please raise your hands. All those against? It is carried. Thank you. That concludes the Audit Committee recommendations. Now we move to the Gawler Heritage Collection Committee recommendation. You happy to move that way, Councillor Kosh, seconded by Councillor Fraser. Any discussion? If not, I'll put that motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Now we move on to recommendations from the Infrastructure and Environmental Services Committee, held on the 13th of April. Okay, you happy to move the noting motions? You've got a conflict?
I do. I apologise that
Yeah.
noticed in the body of it, subsection 7.5,
Yep.
I'm an employee of Northern York Landscape Board. It is a noting report, but I've got a perceived conflict, so I'll leave the room.
Thank you, Councillor Hughes. If you can note that, Chris, thank you. So that was a perceived conflict, and he'll deal with the matter by leaving the room. Beautiful, thank you. Well, I might see if we can get a noting, just a mover and a seconder to put it on the table. Councillor Goldstone, you happy to move that way? You seconded, Councillor Little. If you're happy, I'll take the question from Councillor Fraser.
Actually about 7.1 and 7.2, which was in the agenda. I haven't got the agenda with me and I've forgotten what it was about, but it was, they must have been deferred because then they weren't moved, so.
Are you talking about the rule?
7.3, there was a 7.1 and a 7.2 in the agenda.
Yep, and the 7.1, wasn't it rural areas?
Pardon?
Wasn't it rural areas? And that's over the page.
Oh, you're right, thank you.
And there's 7.2 on over the page. Okay, no problem. If there's no further discussion, I'll put that motion. All those in favour? It carried unanimously. We'll ask Councillor Hughes to, thanks Jack. Yeah, the noting motions generally come first and then we go to the recommendations. Yeah. So Councillor Hughes, we're on 7.1 on page 74. So we have we have a committee recommendation. You happy to move that way, Councillor Goldstone? No? You happy to move that way? Do you wish to speak at all?
Just briefly, as I said at the committee meeting, this is mainly just a noting motion apart from clause or point 7. And it's, yeah, it's quite appropriate, so I'm happy to move it.
Seconder? Councillor Little, any discussion? If not, I'll put that motion. All those in favour, please raise your hand. Carried unanimously, thank you. Moving over the page, 7.2. Committee recommendation. Happy to move that way, Councillor Hughes. Seconded by Councillor Kosh. Do you wish to speak at all?
Just quickly, it's a massive process. Local area traffic management plan's done really well, and yeah, just noting the excellent work of the staff and consultant and the community getting this to this state, and to adopt it. I think it's really well done, and it's a huge process, and it's a big achievement, and I do think it's going to make a difference in the Wollaston area. So it's well done to everyone involved.
Do you wish to speak as a seconder? Any other discussion, Deputy Mayor? Yep.
Thanks, Mayor Karen. Has there been much feedback from, the meetings that have been held? And as Councillor Hughes said, it's a huge project and everything, but I've sort of not seen too many negative comments at all. Is there any of the staff any comments at all? Because as Councillor Hughes said, it's a huge project, and we want to get our community to be involved in these things when there's such a big thing like this.
The community engagement's probably one of the best community engagements we've had, with over 200 people in the first survey, and then the second one slightly less, and then we had active engagement in the workshops, even though that was in the middle of COVID. I think, yeah, and some of the feedback was a simple thank you. Didn't have anything else to add, but just like to say thank you for being asked. So my feedback from the people and the community of Williston is that it has been really greatly and well received. Yeah, and I think now it's a matter of you put a plan in place, but hopefully it doesn't sit on a shelf, you know, and that people's feedback is put into practice, I guess, over time. Yeah. Any other discussion? If not, I'll put that motion. All those in favour, carried unanimously. Thank you. So we move now on to external body reports. So we'll do that at the confidential. I've got that listed. Is that right? Yeah. At the end of the agenda, but thank you for that. That relates to the CEO PMP matters that are ready to be addressed by council. So we'll address them later in the evening under item 15, I think. I think that's 15. Oh, we could do them at the end of, we could do them anytime then. I thought they were in confidence. Are they out of confidence? Yeah, okay. Okay, so we'll deal with this one, and then we could deal with this after external body reports, and then we could, because I thought they were still in confidence, so that was my mistake. Okay, item 13. Item 13. So we have noting the minutes. You happy to move that way, Councillor Fraser? Do I have a seconder? Councillor Little, any discussion? Put that motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. So what we'll do now, just for the benefit of the members of the community that might be watching, is we are going to deal with the committee that deals with the Chief Executive Officer Performance Management, and it's the Performance Management Panel and their resolutions. Now, some of these resolutions are made under delegated authority. In fact, I think all of them are. Is that right, Chris? All except the last there. Yes. Okay, so Chris, if you've got them up. So I'll just go through. What we have here is we have an appointment of a deputy chair, we have meeting dates, and we have terms of reference, and then we'll deal with the other ones separately. So the ones I just mentioned, which is appointment of the deputy chair, meeting dates and terms of reference, are motions made under delegated authority and are for noting. You happy to move that way, Councillor Goldstone? Do I have a seconder, Councillor Hughes? Any discussion? If not, put that motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Now we'll deal with the last one, which is, if you can just allow them, we'll allow. So that was carried unanimously, Chris. Okay, no problem. Yep. So this one is that the update report be noted, that we undertake a workshop and that the outcomes of a workshop be reported to a subsequent PMP meeting, and they're a workshop on the KPIs. You happy to move that way? You happy to second? Do you wish to speak at all? I guess if we go into any detail, we need to be, some of the detail is a matter of confidence. So if you do wish to go into detail, we may need to go into confidence. So I just put that caution. It's up to you. If you wish to speak, Councillor Hughes? No? Do you wish to speak, seconder? Any other discussion? If not, I'll put that motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. That deals with those motions. Thank you, councillors. So now we're moving on to questions on notice, and Responses have been circulated and put in front of you. And they will be included in the minutes of those questions on notice. Now, there was a request by Councillor Tully to defer his motions. Are you happy to move that the motions be deferred? Sorry, I was looking for questions for that and I couldn't find them. I'm going on. Questions without notice. Are there any questions? Councillor Fraser, then Councillor Koch, then Councillor Davies. That's okay. If you can turn your mic on.
A while ago, Norma, we're discussing for everybody to have a green bin. Where has that ended up? Is that still ongoing discussion or not?
We actually had a presentation from Adam Faulkner, and there was that question was raised around green bins. Ryan, is there anything you wish to add in that regard, or do you want to take it on notice? Okay. In particular, if you can give Ryan some further detail around the nature of the question around green bins.
Yeah, well, it was for everybody to have a green bin, and I just wanted to know how if it had progressed.
Okay. Thank you.
The second one is toilets. There is an app that's available that tells people where toilets are.
National app. Yes.
Yeah, as far as I know, we're not on it.
We're supposed to be on it.
Are we?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
CEO.
You may be, and I just haven't noticed it.
I have actually raised that several times in the past, that we get on the national. Yeah, it's only the service stations that are on that national app. We need to be on it. Yeah. So you followed that up?
I can respond in part. We've certainly had some feedback, I think, through discussions with the Mayor about improving the information online relative to where our current toilets are and having better sort of map interface. But I'll have to follow up and take it on notice relative to that particular one. So what was that called again?
Yeah.
App that you can download onto your phone, and when you're in a certain area, if you bring it up, it'll tell you where the toilets are.
It's a national
where the public toilets are.
Continence Foundation have it on their website as well.
Okay, and one more.
Yep, absolutely.
The signage on the walking trail. Now, I've got a feeling on Julian Terrace it's all being updated, but the actual signage on some of our walking trail is in a very bad state of disrepair. It's fading and it's around the railway line, it's covered in graffiti. I'm just wondering if it's possible to put a bid in on the budget. We may not be able to afford it, but if we can get a budget bid in, see how much it would be to renew them and put a graffiti covering over it. So,
Mr. Barrett, there was some work being done on those signs, weren't there?
So through the chair, we're in the process of replacing the Cultural Heritage Walk signage. They're the larger signs though, not the specific walking trail signs that I'm aware of. The walking trail signs we need to do a further project on, but it was a 2-year budget bid project that's already in train, if that makes sense. So we are looking at it at the moment.
Sorry. Can I ask where the Heritage Walking Trail is?
So through the chair, we have approximately 7 signs on the Heritage Walking Trail that celebrate iconic moments in Gawler's history, such as, and people, so James Martin, the Song of Australia and those sorts of things. There's 7 dotted, there's information on our website on the exact locations, but it is along the river corridor, so to speak. And they're being replaced over the next couple of months because they're definitely outdated, graffitied, and we're replacing them and renewing them. The other walking trail signage, as I said, is part of a wider project that we're looking at.
So it probably is the heritage one. I'm talking about where the rivers meet, and they're around that area. They're in a really bad state.
Okay. Who was next? Councillor Koch, and then Councillor Davies.
Mayor, this is a question to you, I suppose. I note that Councillor Tully has been absent for a number of meetings recently. Do you have any insights in why Councillor Tully has not been attending meetings?
CEO?
Yes, through the chair, I've received correspondence from Councillor Tooley who he's asked for the details to be kept in confidence. If the members are inclined, wishing to further discuss the matter, then we'll have to go into confidence to have a discussion.
Councillor Davies?
So first question, when are we likely to see updated signage go up on the multi-storey car park in regards to the opening hours?
Mr Hall, thank you.
Yeah, through you, Mayor Karen. My understanding is the signs have been ordered a number of weeks back, so the replacement time should be imminent, I'd suggest, but I can follow up.
Okay, thank you.
And will we be seeing any further upcoming reports relating to feedback from our recent workshop on council meetings and improvements to efficiency?
CEO?
Yes, through the chair. So the Mayor and I have a meeting with Kate Layton to go through the comments that we went through at that workshop, and then we'll be working through what sort of scope of changes might be considered relevant to the meeting procedures and so forth, and that will be reported back through council for council to consider and to make decisions. Knowing that workshops we don't make decisions.
So there'll be an upcoming report that council can consider. Okay, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor Karen. And now that I know Mr Barrett's back, I'm just wondering if the machine where you can add some money to our beautiful heritage display could be there before Councillor Davies goes there, and he could be the first one.
Yes, tap and go.
How are we coming along for this?
The tap and go.
Tap and go.
So through the chair, I caught up with Jacinta, our Cultural Heritage Centre coordinator today, and received the last item today. So she was hoping to install it before she left today, but I haven't had an update. So if Councillor Davies would like to donate tomorrow, I'm sure it'll be there.
No pressure at all. Okay.
Thank you, but I'm looking at the full moon up here through the window. So it's one of those nights. And we haven't had full water yet, so I'm just wondering.
Okay. Any other questions without notice? There be none. So the motions on notice, you want to move a motion to defer them?
Yeah, a motion to defer all of the motions on notice, as they're all
16.1, 16.2, 16.3.
They're all from Councillor Tooley, who has not at the meeting.
We'll put them in as items 16.1, 16.2 and 16.3, so it refers to the...
Yeah.
Seconded by Deputy Mayor to a future meeting. Future council meeting, I think. Chris? Okay, I'll put that motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. So we move on to confidential reports. How about the minutes? We haven't done the minutes yet. We don't need to do the minutes, do we? We don't normally need to do the minutes. We only do the motions. We don't do the minutes. We've done the resolutions. We don't need to do the minutes. No. Okay. Oh, God, I'm not following. So motions without notice. Okay. No motions without notice? Okay. Confidential reports. So now we move into confidential reports, and I'm on page 82, there's no 82, of the agenda, and there is a recommendation to go into confidence for this matter. Councillor Goldstone.
Happy to move that as the matter relates to legal advice or in relation to the CEO.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Hughes. I'll put that motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Right, so what that means is that we are now going into confidence. So thank you, Nick and Brendan, for coming along tonight.